When we talk about the holiday of Shavuot, there's a basic yesod that's brought down in the Sefer Sichar Yizchazkut by Rav Meislish. And he notes in source number 4, V'nei matzinu b'sfarim hakadoshim she'ifligu ma'od b'skulos yomim elu. These days have tremendous power to them, a tremendous kolach to them. Asher b'chol shana v'shana chozer v'nishne kol inyanei kabbalas haTorah. And what happens each and every year is the entire experience of Kabbalas HaTorah is reenacted b'chlaloteihem u'b'piroteihem, in the most general as well as specific sense. All the Kedusha, all the Skulos, all the Ashpos, and the Ruchnias and the Gashmias, all comes v'nishpa aleinu mechadash and is brought to us anew each and every year. And as it's brought down in the name of Arizal, Shevachol Shana V'Shana V'Chag Shavuos, every year on the holiday of Shavuos, Mekabli Manu HaTorah, we receive the Torah, Kemo Shayab Pamarisha, as the original time that Klal Yisrael received it at Mamad Har Sinai. And the Yesod V'Shor Shavuot notes that the time of the Kabbalah HaTorah is a time of Kriyas HaTorah. That's why it is a tremendous Inyan, if one's able to make it, men, women, and children, to come to Kriyas HaTorah and to have in mind that this is the time of the Kabbalah HaTorah, the time of the receiving of the Torah. If we work with this principle in mind, that the receiving of the Torah is not just remembering what happened, but reenacting in all of its details that which was, reenacts and happens once again in our own lives. So I'd like to ask, where do we find two very specific details that were found at Mamad Har Sinai? Where do we find the corollary for our lives? And obviously it's going to have to be in a philosophical sense and not in a literal sense. We're told, and this is source 1, that before the Jews received the Torah, they were told that Moshe Rabbeinu was told by Kadosh Baruch Hu, go to the people and sanctify them today and tomorrow. They shall wash their clothing. Today we've gone the Shloshim Yemei Hagbala. Men and women needed to separate for 3 days. This was the Inyan of Prisha. This was the Inyan of separation. And then we have, as the Chumash continues to tell us, we have a tremendous emphasis on setting boundaries for the people around about, that they should not ascend the mountain or even touch the mountain. And this is the Inyan of Hagbala, of setting a gvul, setting a boundary. So today we don't have a physical place called Mamad Har Sinai. We don't have this restriction of relationships between husband and wife, the 3 days of the Shloshim Yemei Hagbala. So where do we find the Inyan of Prisha, the Inyan of separation, and the Inyan of Hagbala, setting around boundaries? There's no mountain to tell us don't go up these boundaries. How are they relevant for our lives? Those are the questions I'd like to focus in on the overall sense. Obviously, alongside those questions is probably the most important question, is how are we to access Chag HaShavuot for our own lives? How are we to tap in to what the holiday is about on the 1 or 2 days that we celebrate it, depending where we are, Eretz Yisrael or Chutz La'aretz? And I think this question becomes even more of a central question to women, even more so than men to some extent. Because whether women learn on the night of Shavuos or not, that's a question I'm not even going to enter into. But for sure, women who are home with little children don't have the ability to learn at night. They're making sure the next day that the children are quiet, particularly in Eretz Yisrael. The Shavuos day goes by very fast. So the question is, if the learning of Torah, which seems to be Shavuos, is a reenactment of receiving the Torah. So if you're not learning Shavuos night, or even men who don't learn Shavuos night, it almost seems like they're missing out on the essence of what Yontif is about. So we need to understand, what is this Yontif about? Is it only the learning on Shavuos night, or is there something much more to the Chag, to the holiday, that we need to be aware of and tap into? I'd like to preface these 2 levels of the Prisha and Hagbala with first an understanding of a general sense, to paint a background picture, so to speak, of what Shavuos is about, and then enter into the details of the holiday. And I'd like to preface our introduction A wonderful mashal that I just read in a Musar Sefer, which has ha'aros on the Chag, with an anonymous author. It's a likud of different ideas. And it gives a wonderful mashal. He says, imagine, a person gets on a bus, pays his fare, and sits down. And the bus continues. A number of stops later, a younger individual gets on the bus, pays his fare, and there's an empty seat near the first individual, and he sits down. He gives him a shalom aleichem, a hello, and the two ride silently till their designated stops. Now, let's take two. Imagine that the first individual gets on the bus, and as he pays his fare and sits down on the bus, somebody taps him on the shoulder and says to him, you know, you've been through the war, and I know that you think that you've lost all contact with all your relatives, that no one survived. But let me tell you, in 2 steps from now, a young man is going to get on this bus, and he is your long lost